Hey there, everybody. How's it going? Hope you're having a good day in your little corner of the world. Been having a pretty good day in mine. It's been a very chilly day. Winter is slowly approaching and the days are getting shorter. Now we're just getting 7 or 8 hours of daylight right now, and in 6 or 7 days from now, it's gonna be the shortest day of the year, and then we're gonna start having more minutes of sunlight, so that's a good thing. But this is the time of the year where you gotta buy Christmas presents, and well, if you celebrate Christmas, and if you don't, it's one of those holidays that is so well known around the world, and it's pervasive wherever you travel. I was in Sri Lanka for one Christmas, and Sri Lanka is an interesting country because even though they have a very big Hindu and Muslim community, there's also a pretty significant Catholic community. So there is a bit of Christmas theme here and there. Some places do get decorated, but it's not as big of a holiday as it is here or in the West. Here in Spain, it's not as big, I feel, as what they call the Three Wise Men, which is January 6th, right? And so in the U.S., it's Christmas Day. It's one of the biggest holidays of the year, if not the biggest holiday, because when it comes to consumerism and buying presents and this and that and magic and believing in Santa Claus, and now it's what is it called? The naughty elf. I mean, I never grew up believing in the elf because my parents just never did that, and also nobody in my community, nobody in my school celebrated that. I never heard a kid talk about the elf on the shelf or any of that. So I just didn't grow up like that, but I'm not sure if it's been around for decades and decades, but it was just not celebrated where I was brought up. Anyway, but I did believe in Santa Claus at some point. And I think I'm going to title this video Why I Still Believe in Santa Claus, because there's a catch to this. Even though I don't believe in the version of Santa Claus that kids know, that there's a man that lives in the North Pole with his wife and his reindeers and his elves, and he works all year to make toys for all the kids around the world. I don't believe in that narrative. But I remember as a kid that illusion and that sense of hope and magic that I felt, that Santa, there was this being out there, a guy with a big white beard listening to me, and I could ask him for anything and I could get my wish. And of course, you outgrow that stage, and when you're 10, 11, 12, you stop believing in that, either through older siblings or you learn it in school or something happens, But even though I'm an adult now and I don't celebrate Christmas, I don't, by celebrating Christmas, if I have the opportunity to get together with family, I will, because it's always nice, and it's a convenient holiday because it's at the end of the year, so you can get together it's an excuse to get together with your family and spend some time together and reflect on the year. So it's nostalgic, it's bittersweet, there's hope because you're hoping to start all over and make the next year your year and living a full life, you know, and so you have that desire to change, you know, or many of us do have that desire to change. And of course, December 25th, December 31st, January 1st, these are all constructs that we've created as humans. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. These dates don't mean anything. We've invented these dates. We've invented the month of December. We've invented the month of January as the first month of the year, and we've invented all of these ideas. But I think as humans, we do need that reset button. We need some kind of idea that allows us to, that pushes us, that encourages us to reset our ways of doing things, you know. And for a lot of people, that's January 1st, and leaving behind old habits. And of course, maybe the following year you set goals and you don't meet those goals, or you're halfway there, or you meet them halfway, whatever it is, but at least you're trying. Or some people use Monday as the first day of the week as a day to restart the way they see life, or the way they will see this week. So it's interesting how we create these little ideas in our head. I have the word in the tip of my tongue about like these beginnings. We create these beginnings, but they're just our own creation. They don't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Okay, so how is this related to Santa Claus and believing in Santa Claus? And to a certain extent, I still do believe in Santa Claus, like I said. Not the Santa Claus that's in the North Pole with a big white beard and a red hat that was sponsored by Coca-Cola. No, not that kind of Sinterklaas. I believe in magic. I believe that there are other beings out there that we can't see. And this is through my own experience. I believe that there is something greater than this dimension, that we can experience different dimensions with different altered states of consciousness, but really the game, the fun of this dimension is to experience the here and the now, to be able to look around the room and just feel in awe with existence, with being alive, with being able to see, being able to breathe, being able to hear, being able to walk and touch and taste and smell and do all of these things, and use this vessel and this reality, use it as a palette, a blank canvas, and we have a palette of colors that we can create our own reality through our own perspective, through our own point of view. And we can change that perspective, and we can create something new. We can leave the old behind and create something new at any given moment. We just have to shift our perspective. And I think that's such a wonderful gift that consciousness is giving itself. It's allowing itself to experience itself in an innovative way. And I guess I don't have the words to explain all of this, and words fall short. But yeah, Santa Claus is just an archetype. It's, when we're kids, we believe that someone is out there listening to us and they're going to make our wishes come true. And then you grow up, you turn 12 or 13 years old, and you stop believing that, and you learn that it's a story that your parents told you. And you're like, oh man, my parents deceived me. Why? Why couldn't they just, why did they even have to start that tradition of making me believe in something that's not true? And I'm not a parent, but I've taught in schools, and from what other parents have said to me and what I have observed in children, parents want to foster that sense of wonder in their children. And as a society, I think when we look at children, we want to foster this sense of wonder and this sense of belief in life, that life is beautiful and it's magical, and you want to foster that. And of course that gets corrupted with consumerism, and that's a whole different story of how consumerism has tainted this idea of believing in magic and believing that the world is good and there's somebody out there, old man with a white beard, giving toys to the poor as well, but it's this desire to foster that in your children and to have them believe that the world is good. Because, as you grow up, and you never really stop growing up, do you? But as you start to collect more years in your bag, you start to realize that this game is cruel too. This dimension has its cruelty, and we got to do certain things for our own survival and for our own safety to keep this vessel safe, because there are some forces out there that can potentially harm us and make living in this dimension even more difficult. So you realize that, and you grow up learning, oh my God, there is cruelty in the world. But some people fall into that extreme and become a nihilist and turn into this grumpy old person, like everybody is bad, the world is bad, and people are bad, and everything is bad, and there's no hope. And you can fall into that extreme. But the real courage, I think, is being able to see the cruelty in the world, to experience in your own life the cruelty of the world, but still choose to believe in the magic of life, in the magic of humans, in the magic of this reality, in the magic of this game that we live in the magic of consciousness, to be able to still believe that there is goodness amidst the cruelty, amidst the devilry that may exist out there, that there still is goodness. That takes courage. But obviously, that you can fall into the other extreme where you just become like, I was talking about this yesterday, how you become kind of like kumbaya and peace and love, and you blindfold yourself and you want to sterilize your reality. You want to avert discomfort. You want to avert pain. You want to run away from it. You don't want to experience any suffering. You want to live on a mountain, up on a hill, okay? And there's nothing wrong with living on a mountain, up on a hill, isolated by everybody. And I want that eventually at some point in my life. But you also have to remember that in order to live a full life, you have to learn to connect. You have to learn to first connect with yourself. And I think that's why solitude is so important, because you learn to love your own company. You learn to love being around yourself. You learn to love yourself for who you are. and not feel like you need to be anybody else. And once you can do that, you need to learn to connect with others and learn to love others for who they are, even when you don't agree with them. Learn to plug into them. Not in a way to change their mind, not in a way to change how they are, but just accept them in the space, in the blockage, in the limitations that they find themselves in. Because you realize that you're also stuck in your own limitations, your own imposed limitations, your own blocks, and however subtle they may be. And I was talking about this yesterday, about how open-mindedness can be surreptitious, believing that you're open-minded. Everybody thinks they're open-minded and they've listened to the other side sufficiently. Everybody thinks that they know what the other side thinks, but their side is correct. But we're blocked to a certain extent. Sometimes we block out what the person is really trying to say because their main argument is something we disagree with, and we can't see deeper into what they're trying to say. And I'm not saying that you always have to agree with the person, because no, that's part of this reality too, being able to have your own authentic point of view and saying, okay, I disagree with you, but I respect you as a human being. Okay, I vehemently disagree with everything you have to say, and I don't think it's based on facts because of X, Y, and Z, and I've done the research or whatever it is, but I respect you as a human being. I'm not going to discredit you, like discredit your existence or say that you're, or see you as inferior. And that's difficult. It's difficult because it's difficult to stop judging others, because we never really stop judging ourselves. And it's kind of like this projection where by judging others, no matter how subtle it is, it gives us this little ego boost, this little, okay, I know more than this and this. And sometimes it's super subtle and you can't really see it. And you're blinded by that. And when you catch it, you're like, oh shit, and you feel bad, but it's not about feeling bad or feeling guilty. It's just, you're being a human and you're experiencing the drama of this life. You're identifying with it. You're playing the role that you have to play, whatever it is that the mother, the father, the sister, the brother, the friend, the employee, whatever it is, you're playing that role and you get indulged in it, and that's fine. But as long as you remember who you really are at the end of the day, that you're not your ideas, you're not your thoughts, doesn't define you. Just like I was talking about it a couple of days ago, how your family history doesn't define you. What your family did in the past doesn't define who you are, doesn't make you a bad person. Even if your Uncle Joe was a murderer, you don't have to feel like that defines you. You can be the bigger person and treat people with respect and love. And just realize the other person's humanity. You don't have to be like your Uncle Joe. You can learn from it and be the bigger person and set the example in your lineage. But I'm going on a tangent here because I know I'm going to title this video, Why I Still Believe in Santa Claus. But what I was trying to say with all of that is that I believe in magic. I believe that in my own experience, this is what I have experienced in my life, and I guess you have to experience it for yourself, or maybe you'll experience something completely new, something completely different, and that's amazing. It's amazing how consciousness can experience itself through different lenses and reach its own awakening, and it's going to sound pretentious, but it reached its own awakening through different methods, through different life roads, because eventually, in the long run, I do believe that we all reach that realization that it's not that serious. You know, this life isn't that serious. It's a game, it's a play, it's a dance. And yes, you gotta watch out for your survival along the way. And yes, there are other human beings that are stuck in their own limitations, stuck in their own world, making the survival game harder for all of us because they've got the platforms, they've got the power. But in the end, they can't reign on the spring of your life. The inside, if your inside is full of spring, if it's springing and you're flowering on the inside, it doesn't matter what other people do on the outside. If they're picking out all the flowers from the garden, if you in your heart know the truth, and I really can't say it in words because I don't think it can even be understood through words. I think it has to be experienced where you just, okay, I'm getting too involved in this drama. Okay, gotta take a step back. It's hard to do sometimes because you really do get involved in your soap opera life. You really do get like, wow, politics and wow, this and that. And yes, that is the reality of this dimension. And people suffer, you know, and it's messed up and there's cruelty, but there's also goodness. And you have the ability to create something good. You have the ability to see the cruelty in the world and create something extraordinary that allows other lenses to reach their own potential or help them reach their own potential, help them live a full life. And what I was saying, that eventually we all reach our awakening, by that I mean just the realization of, yes, this life is not that serious. Live your life fully, however you think that is best for you, that is following your heart. My definition of living life to the fullest may be different than your definition of living life to the fullest, and that's wonderful. That's how your consciousness will experience nourishment and fullness and expansion and freedom. Okay, it doesn't have to be my version or anybody's version. It's your authentic version. And I can take a step back as this human role that I'm playing and say, okay, I know that there is something bigger than me, and I am that thing bigger than myself. And I can't even talk about it because it's ineffable. I'm gonna start talking gibberish and yeah, it's too, I guess you just have to know, or you just have to experience. And then once you experience, you realize that you've always known this. And that's the beauty of being a child or watching children. They know this already. They know that this life is about play, about imagination, that imagination is a beautiful thing. As long as you don't identify with it, like, as long as you can, okay, I'm imagining this scenario, I'm playing with my dolls, or I'm playing detective or doctor or scientist, but then you go back and you start playing, you're playing doctor for 1 hour, but then you're being your own little self, jumping on puddles the next moment. And you're not identified as the doctor just because you played the doctor role a few hours ago. You are constantly changing. You're constantly changing your perspective. And kids don't really need to know the truth. They just live the truth. They just live that fulfilling life. Of course, not every child gets to have that experience because there is trauma. And there is this this phenomenon where, depending on your upbringing, you can lose your soul. And by soul, I mean that chi, that essence. If you live through a traumatic experience, you can lose that part of yourself. And you lose parts of yourself as you grow older. It doesn't happen just once, it happens multiple times. But I think it was Sandra Ingerman. She has a book. She's a shaman, and she talks about shamanism. She has this book called something about recovering the soul, and how you can, how you lose your soul as many times throughout your life, and that takes away your chi, your life energy force. I don't think she uses the word chi, but it's that idea of that soul. That what does it mean? Soul. What does soul mean? It's just that. It's that simplicity. I mean, there's no words. It's that simplicity that yeah, I can't explain it. The closest word is simplicity. It's just this being okay with now, being okay with the here and now, and loving life, falling in love with life, falling in love with the pain, and falling in love with the joy, falling in love with the drama of this life, and realizing how lucky we are to experience this dimension. Wow, we're freaking lucky. And your consciousness is so lucky to experience itself through your lens. Wow, that's amazing. And that consciousness is experiencing itself through different lenses, in different moments, in different parts of the world. And it's learning more and more and more and more and more about itself. And I mean, I guess I'm just going to go into that rabbit hole, but don't stop believing in the magic. So, like I said, Santa Claus is an archetype for the hope that even though this game can get cruel and hard and difficult sometimes, and it can break you sometimes, and you feel like giving up sometimes, there is goodness. There is this feeling of freedom and bliss and ease. It is possible. It is possible to have a good world if you believe that, but it starts with you. It starts with you believing that. It starts with you believing in your own goodness. Knowing that you'll never be perfect, just like the world will never be perfect, and there will always be things that we can complain about and things that aren't so perfect around the world. Believing that, yes, you're flawed, but yes, there is goodness within you. Seeing the goodness of the world, seeing the goodness within yourself, and reminding people that there is goodness, that we don't have to be nihilistic all the time, that we can be hopeful for a better world, and it is possible. It seems doomsday every single day, but that's been the case for the history of our species. It's always doomsday, you know? You think people that were living through the Black Plague in Europe, millions of people died in that Black Plague. You don't think they thought it was the end of times? And then centuries have passed since then. You don't think people in World War I thought that was the end of the world? And then they went through World War II. And you don't think they thought it was the end of the world in World War II when they were living World War II? And then the Great Depression? And then they passed that and they were living through the Cold War, you know? And then the Vietnam War, and then this war, and then this disagreement, and then Watergate, and then there's always going to be problems, okay? You know, there's always going to be terrible atrocities and happening around the world, and it's important to not ignore them. It's important to be aware of them and see those examples of how other humans are treating their own human species and saying, no, you can't treat others like that. I won't treat others like that. And it'll start by me treating others with respect. Doesn't matter what your viewpoint is. Doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter where you look at. I namaste you. And I hate using that word because then it's all cringy, kind of, it's turned into this cringe word in my opinion. But it's just bowing to your existence, honoring your existence. I honor your existence and I respect your existence. And I know you have to go through challenges in this existence, your own unique challenges, your own drama, things that make your survival hard. And I admire you for that, and you're resilient. And thank you for being here. Thank you for not giving up. Doesn't matter what you're going through. Thank you for being so resilient. Doesn't matter if you couldn't get out of bed today. You're being resilient. You're still choosing to live and breathe and give life a chance, even when it looks stormy. Still choosing to live. And sometimes you fall into that funk where you think that it's going to be rainy all the time and you feel depressed, but I do believe that the sun comes out for everybody eventually. And we all realize, even those that are very limited in their own perspective, I can name names right now, that basically all the billionaires, I would say, are in that pool of people that are very, very highly limited. And they're suffering in their own ways. Yeah, they've got all the power. Yeah, they've got all the money in the world. But you know what? They're suffering in their own ways, or they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. They wouldn't try to make life more miserable for the rest of us, you know? They would try to uplift others, knowing that that is not a threat to their own survival. Knowing that helping others, giving, is not a threat to your own abundance, because abundance is everywhere. And how could you be greedy if your life, just being alive, is an abundance? And they suffer in their own ways, trust me. These billionaires, yeah. These people that commit terrible atrocities, they suffer in their own ways. And yeah, there are some psychopaths out there and people that don't have any type of conscience. But they also suffer. The ability to not feel. The ability to not know what love is, to not be able to love. That's a suffering in its own way. Not being able to connect, to feel isolated. Yeah. So, choose to believe in the magic of the world, even when the world seems like it's gray and all there is hurricanes and tornadoes. Choose to believe in the goodness of the world. Because you know what? There will always be hurricanes and tornadoes in your life. You know? And in the world. The collective will experience hurricanes and tornadoes, and the individual will experience hurricanes and tornadoes. And we have to learn to navigate that and find freedom within those hurricanes. Being able to just know that the storm will pass, but really know that. Really know that in your heart and really believe. So I guess, in honor of the spirit of Christmas, choose to believe in Santa Claus. And what I mean by that is choose to believe in the magic of the world. Choose to believe in the magic. That you're being taken care of. And that life is pretty cool. Peace and love. Bye.